Let's jump right into this explainer. Have you ever wondered what invisible biological forces are actually shaping the quality of your life literally every single day? It's a massive question. Today, we're uncovering the hidden operating system that runs beneath your entire human experience, and we're going to use the ADHD brain as a sort of magnifying glass to see it clearly. Because health, it's not just a random collection of habits, right? It's a dynamic, deeply interconnected system. And right at the very center of that system is how we direct our attention. So let's see just how deep this rabbit hole goes. It's a universal paradox, isn't it? Why is it that you can focus absolutely effortlessly for hours on a hobby you love, but you can barely string together 10 minutes for a boring report? We usually just write this off as laziness, a lack of willpower, or maybe just quote-unquote low dopamine. But science is telling us a profoundly more fascinating story here. This is not a character flaw. It's actually a window into a hidden biological mechanism that governs everything from your daily productivity to your long-term cognitive longevity. Section 1, the motivation paradox. Let's completely rethink what we know about the brain's fuel. Now, you've probably heard of dopamine and norepinephrine, and they're usually just called the brain's feel-good chemicals. But honestly, that's a massive oversimplification. These are catecholamines. They are absolutely crucial signaling molecules. Dopamine is literally the molecule of motivation. It answers your brain's fundamental biological question: is this thing actually worth my metabolic effort? And norepinephrine, that regulates your alertness. It gives you the ability to filter the signal from the noise. Together, they essentially dictate your capacity to sustain effort. But here's the catch, and as Dr. Bliss Lewis points out, these chemicals don't just operate on a simple more is always better scale. No, they operate on what's called an inverted U functional curve. So too little of them in your prefrontal cortex, yes, that impairs your focus, but guess what? So does having way too much, which is exactly what happens when you're under severe stress. So the ADHD brain isn't broken at all, it's just highly sensitive. It's operating at a different point on that curve depending on the context, the urgency, and how interested you are. This one single mechanism perfectly explains why our focus fluctuates so wildly throughout the day. Section 2, the brain's hidden seesaw. Let's look at how these neurotransmitters drive the large-scale networks operating right beneath our awareness. Right now, literally beneath your skull, there is a biological tug-of-war happening. On one side, you've got the default mode network. Think of this as your brain on standby. It's responsible for mind-wandering, internal chatter, daydreaming. And on the other side, you have the task-positive network. This fires up when you need external focus and serious problem-solving. In a highly optimized brain, these two operate like a perfect seesaw. When one goes up, the other goes down. You need to focus, boom, the mind-wandering network quiets down. But for a lot of us, especially anyone with neurodivergent traits, that seesaw is basically stuck. The default mode network just fails to quiet down when it's supposed to. So getting distracted isn't about a lack of effort on your part. It's an actual biological failure of these networks to coordinate properly. Your internal chatter is just crashing into your external focus. Understanding this completely changes how we view distraction. It is not a moral failure, it's a network glitch. So the big question is, how do we fix a glitch in our biological hardware? Section 3, rewiring the executive center. We are going to look at how to literally change that hardware using neuroplasticity. We're talking about mindfulness here, but this isn't just about feeling calm. We're talking about cellular remodeling. Regular mindfulness practice acts kind of like a wireless charger for your prefrontal cortex, which is the CEO of your brain. It literally thickens this area. It increases the density of your anterior cingulate cortex, which is the hub that catches distractions. It normalizes that stuck default mode network we just talked about, and it shrinks your amygdala, drastically reducing your physical stress reactivity. We are fundamentally altering your brain's architecture to build real long-term cognitive resilience. So how does this actually work in the real world? Well, it follows the Posner model of attention. Step 1, you focus your attention. Step 2, your mind wanders and you detect that distraction. Step 3, you consciously disengage. And step 4, you redirect your focus. That process is called meta-awareness. And here is the secret. Every single time you complete that loop, you are doing a biological push-up. You are firing and wiring neural pathways together and actively strengthening your brain's real-time monitoring system. And the real-world results, they are totally staggering. Studies looking at mindfulness-based therapies for ADHD have shown that attention can improve by up to 66%. 66%. I mean, that is huge. This is a massive, highly respected scientific intervention that goes directly after the core pathways of executive dysfunction, and it does it entirely without the side effects of traditional pharmacology. Section 4, moving beyond stillness. For decades, we've thought of mindfulness as sitting perfectly still in total silence. Let's talk about why that's completely failing so many people. Here's a really counterintuitive truth. For a neurodivergent brain or anyone with an under-aroused nervous system, absolute physical stillness can actually trigger severe stress and anxiety. Forcing the body to be completely still can literally send the mind into overdrive. So the paradigm shift here is that movement is mindfulness. We absolutely have to adapt our biology to our practices, not the other way around. This brings us to a fascinating concept, multi-sensory self-regulation. Think about fidgeting, pacing back and forth, putting on some heavy beat music, or even just balancing on your chair. For someone with ADHD, this stuff isn't a distraction. It's actually a highly functional biological strategy. It increases blood flow, it oxygenates the brain, and it artificially stimulates that executive control center to help you reach that optimal point on the inverted U curve we talked about earlier. When we validate these movements, we turn restlessness into an incredibly powerful tool for cognitive regulation. Section 5. The interconnected human system. Let's tie this all together and see how every thought and movement triggers a biological cascade. Think about what happens when we lack meta-awareness. A simple action, like mindlessly scrolling on your phone, acts as an impulsive avoidance tactic, and it's heavily driven by an unregulated amygdala. The result? You fall down a 2-hour rabbit hole that ruins your productivity and spikes your stress levels later on. But if you have a stronger interior cingulate cortex built up through those mindfulness push-ups, that meta-awareness kicks in. You detect the urge to scroll, you intercept the distraction, and you redirect back to your target task. It is a micro moment, but it completely alters the entire trajectory of your day. Now, let's zoom out and consider the true long-term consequences of this. In a matter of seconds, mindful movement engages your focus. Over minutes, this regulates your nervous system, calming down that amygdala. Done consistently over weeks, this drives actual neuroplasticity, completely remodeling the physical structure of your brain. And if you compound that over years, it leads to deep cognitive longevity, emotional resilience, and healthy aging. It's profound proof of how tiny, daily behaviors alter decades of future outcomes. Your health is the emergent result of these countless interconnected moments. Which brings us to a truly profound realization from the Counseling Center group. You can't fail at mindfulness. Noticing is mindfulness. I love this because it completely reframes the entire practice. It is not about forcing a blank mind or sitting perfectly still like a statue. It's a highly accessible, everyday tool for radical self-acceptance. Every single time you just notice your mind has wandered off, you win. You are successfully operating your hidden biological system. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative question. What tiny decision will you make today to rewire your brain for tomorrow? Remember, your biology isn't fixed. It is a wildly dynamic, adaptable system that is just waiting for your input. If you take control of the hidden operating system of your attention, you can fundamentally change the trajectory of your entire life.